Sports Business with the Professor.
Gonna get learned up, but there's so much money behind sports. His name is Mattress Mac.
OG discount double check.
Won $75 million. Damn, if I marry her, she'll be the cheapest employee that I have. Here's $3,000 you can put underneath that mattress. Without TV, there literally would not be any more sports. That shit went viral. Love it. Love it. Sponsored by insert company here. Yeah. So this is the sports business segment. I am the Professor Alex Alper, and this is the Super Bowl week. So we are going to talk about the business behind the Super Bowl, because as much as all of us are really excited to see two football teams play each other, the NFL really doesn't care. Like, they're printing money. They are the utopian league, the utopian model for all of sports. They make the most money. They have a hard salary cap. Any team can win every year. It is ridiculous, right? So the NFL this last year made roughly, and we don't know for sure, roughly $19 billion in revenue last year. The team sponsorship, you combined all 32 teams, the amount of money they made just sponsorship wise, just over $2 billion. If you add what the league made as well, $2.7 billion just in sponsorship alone. They've made so much money this year that the salary cap, which was at $208.2 million, is estimated to move up $18 million to $220 million next year. That would be the biggest single year leap the NFL has ever had. Why? Why are they making so much more money this year?
Probably
you guys tell
because
me
of
why.
it's got anything to do with the TV rights and the streaming.
Yep. Increase money in the TV rights. Why else? Something we're really interested here on this show.
Betting?
More podcasts, more shows, betting. More YouTube, more betting.
More.
There you go.
It's betting, right? So each team was able to add, or a lot of the teams were able to add literally a new area in their sponsorship contract, and that had to do with sports betting. A lot of that increased revenue for sponsorship 40%. And that's huge. Anytime the NFL can make more money. So the Super Bowl itself, which this year is going to be in Glendale, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix, at State Farm Stadium. State Farm Stadium holds about 63,400 people. But for their big events, they can increase that to about 73,000. Not sure how many they're actually going to get in there. But the NFL is in good shape, you guys. They've signed a labor deal till the end of the year 2030. So times are good. Revenues are up. All these teams are printing money, basically. And this Super Bowl is going to be probably one of the biggest. Well, basically every Super Bowl ends up topping the year before, right? 6,000 media passes for this year's Super Bowl. Viewership, about 200 million people across the world will watch the Super Bowl.
Crazy.
200 million people. About 99 million people in the United States are going to watch. Nick, how many people watched the World Cup final around the world, for perspective?
Gosh, I feel like 50 to 100 million would have been a lot. I feel like 50 million, 100 million was probably something that I would have guessed.
1.5 billion people across the world watch the World Cup final. That's just to give you some perspective. So 200 million people will watch the Super Bowl. 1.5 billion people watch the World Cup final. 26 million people in the U.S. watch the World Cup final.
So
versus,
you're talking 20% of the population versus almost, a fifth.
Wow.
Yeah. And this year in Arizona, they also have the Waste Management Open that's happening at the same time. They don't track attendance anymore for the Waste Management Open because it's such a shit show. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's literally the first golf event where you can go and kind of heckle golfers. You can make noise. It's ridiculously fun.
It's
and
a frat
big booze
party.
fest.
It's a frat party at a golf course. It's a fucking blast. If you've never been, you should go.
Jackass.
It's a great time. I can't imagine playing golf in those conditions, but watching it on TV, it's one of my favorite golf events every year. I cannot wait to watch it until Sunday, because obviously Sunday I'll have other stuff going on.
In 2018, they had 719,000 people go to the Waste Management Open. But like I said, they don't track that anymore. They're estimated to get around 200,000 people on Saturday alone. That'll be at the TPC in Scottsdale. So that's happening at the same time of the Super Bowl, right? And one of the things that people talk about when they talk about the Super Bowl are the ads. Okay. How much is the average Super Bowl ad this year? Does anybody know?
For what, a 30-second commercial?
30-second spot in the Super Bowl. How much?
Jeez, it's got to be what?
5
Close
million?
to 5 million now?
3 to 5 million?
$7 million this year for a 30-second spot.
Christ.
7 mil.
That is
Can
lot
you
of those
imagine?
toilets.
Hey,
Toilets
Kristen,
could you
as a
buy?
marketing person, can you imagine being on the hook for a $7 million commercial that you
No.
got on the deadline for that?
Well, no, and I know, people that have, and you plan your whole year around that. I mean, if you're going
yeah.
after that, it's a full year long or more than that.
That's all you do all year, right? Is that 30-second commercial, give or take?
Yeah.
14
No, because
You
it doesn't
guys,
take
you
that
guys are
long
the
to
you
do
guys
it,
are the
but-
marketing guys, so you would know more than I would.
Yeah. I mean, I'm working with numerous companies that have a Super Bowl ad, and we haven't been working on them all year. So, but it's a big one, right? And it's a big commitment. So you decide years in advance that it's something that you're going to do. But prices of ads have doubled in the last 10 years, literally doubled in the last 10 years. And so usually when you're watching the Super Bowl, you are going to see a Budweiser ad, right? And the Budweiser has had some iconic ads from not the turtles, the frogs, to the what's up
Clydesdales.
guys,
Yeah.
Clydesdales.
Budweiser.
Yes, what's up? Like always iconic. Well, the reason that you've always seen those Budweiser ads is they paid $250 million a year to have exclusivity during the Super Bowl. They sponsored the Super Bowl. No other alcohol could run during the Super Bowl since 1989.
Still to this day?
Nope. It is over this year. So this year, Budweiser will have a Bud Light ad, a Michelob Ultra ad, and a Busch Light ad. But now other alcohol companies can jump in too. So there's going to be a Miller Lite ad, a Miller Lite Coors Light ad from Molson Coors. There'll be a Heineken ad, a Crown Royal ad. There'll be a Remy Martin ad. And this is all new to the Super Bowl because exclusivity used to be owned by Budweiser.
And at
So-
200, so I guess if 250 million a year got them exclusivity for the whole thing, then those different spots, if you split it up, they got to be going for God knows what. If it's an alcohol ad, right? Does it matter? Does it fluctuate based on like what the product genre is or
No,
whatever?
doesn't fluctuate by the product genre. The price fluctuates when your ad airs. So like the last ad or the first ad going into the Super Bowl, or literally the very first commercial break versus the last one after the fourth quarter, or the first one during the 2-minute warning. Like those can fluctuate, but on average prices are $7 million for this year.
Wow.
So we'll see a lot of companies just insert a celebrity. Budweiser is dealing with Kevin Bacon this year, and they're trying to market to a younger audience. So like we'll see. I've seen some previews for it. We'll see what happens.
So Alex,
The
I have
value
a
of
quick
having
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Quick
Go for it,
question
go
for
for
you.
it.
Why do you think that Budweiser is, it ends this year? Why do you think they're not renewing that? I think it just doesn't yield enough ROI for them. They don't feel it's the right market, or
They're not. They're now owned by InBev, which owns a lot of beer brands, and I don't know if they can just like people aren't buying Budweiser, and even though InBev owns a ridiculous number of other products and other beers, it just maybe didn't make financial sense for them anymore. Like they didn't need exclusive rights because they can still pay and get a bunch of Super Bowl ads. They just don't own it anymore.
Those craft
But it's
beers
not their
over,
choice because
you know.
now they're buying.
Well, JJ buys Bud Light and gross. I've seen it.
Coors,
I mean, I'm talking troughs
that your-
full.
Coors.
He drinks Coors Light, but he had a party and he bought so much Bud Light you could fill up a truck with it.
I got 4 cases of Bud Light, 6 cases of Coors Light, but I definitely ain't buying Budweiser. Might as well put that in a fucking tin can. Oof.
No Bud Heavy for JJ.
Probably more
Watching
trees
his
bought
weight.
than Budweiser.
The economic impact of having the Super Bowl in your city, they've blown this out of proportion. Like, oh, it's going to be $1 billion going to come to the local economy. The NFL is like, oh, it's going to be somewhere between 300 and 400 million dollars that you're going to make. It's probably about 25% of that, somewhere around 100 million bucks. Obviously, tourism is going to increase. They estimated in LA that about 150,000 people last year came just for the Super Bowl. But when you talk about the Super Bowl itself and the actual fan experience, that's where you learn that the Super Bowl is very much so not for the fans. If we talk about the tickets alone, right? 35% of the tickets are split between the Eagles and the Chiefs. So 17.5% each, right? The 29 other teams, the 30 other teams, I'm sorry, they split another 35% of the tickets. The host, so Arizona, they get 5% of the tickets. And then the leftover percentage, that's owned by the NFL, and that's going to all the sponsors. That's why it is so expensive to buy a ticket, because there are very few. We're talking maybe a couple thousand tickets that are actually available to fans. Obviously, the Chiefs and the Eagles will give some to let their season ticket holder base buy into it, people that have suites and all of that stuff. But you still have to be spending a lot of money or been a long-standing season ticket holder, even to get the opportunity to buy those tickets. So if you look on the secondary market, the average price to buy a ticket this year at this year's Super Bowl is around $6,500. And prices will continue to go down the closer you get to the game. I think I looked yesterday and like the cheapest ticket was $4,500 on StubHub. But if you're trying to find a place to stay, your average Airbnb, $1,800 a night if you want to be anywhere close. So maybe save that money on the tickets and you're going to spend it on the hotels.
Holy crap. How's that possible? Because when you look at when they span across and see everybody, like you wouldn't think that from a fan base perspective, you would not think
If you've
that.
ever been to one, I've heard that it's that way though. It feels very corporate. Super Bowls are not very
It's
enjoyable from
super
a
corporate-y.
fan perspective. It's very corporate. Johnny, I thought you were about to pop out of your seat there for a second. What did you have something that you wanted to say?
I did. We were talking, Alex mentioned how, teams will take an allotment of their tickets to give to like their fan bases, their season ticket holders,
Sell.
the people who, give into the pot of selling the tickets. The Eagles renewal rate for season tickets is like 99.7% renewal rate. And the 0.3% is just people who die off. That's the only way to become a season ticket holder, by the way.
It's like Augusta. It's like getting a membership at Augusta. You got to wait till somebody goes to Jesus before you could get on there. And
we'll have another segment when we talk about ticket sales, and we'll get into like, you can't have like every seat at your stadium can't be a season seat holder seat. Like the reason for having season seats is the ability to be guaranteed a playoff ticket. That is the reason that you're buying your season tickets, so that when playoffs come around, you're guaranteed to be able to buy your seat for the playoffs. And every stadium, every sport is only allowed to offer a specific amount because all those other seats are owned by the league. And especially for jeweled events like this one. So Pepsi for the last 10 years has sponsored the halftime show, and they weren't paying a ton of money. And so now they've sold that to Apple Music or to Apple. And that's another $50 million that the NFL will make on that. Now the NFL does give back, they have a charitable arm. So they will go into a city and they will say, all right, we will give $2 million worth of grants to various nonprofits. So there is somewhat of a good side of this. But as it relates back to betting, which all of us like to do, even Miss Walsh with her Super Bowl bet, she actually also bet that the Eagles were going to play. Did you bet Eagles Bills, right? Yeah, she also bet Eagles build, which
Oh.
obviously K-Love was thinking the same thing.
Great
She
minds.
bet that
like,
before the season. Yeah, she bet that before the season started. So if that would have won, she would have paid off more. But this year, there's an estimated that 50.4 million people are going to bet on the Super Bowl. That is 20% of the population will make a Super Bowl bet this year. And
Wow.
there is an estimation that it'll be worth about $16 billion spent on betting on the Super Bowl. Now, you guys know I'm not a huge bettor, but come the Super Bowl, please believe that's when I get all into it. Like I'm betting hundreds of dollars on the damn national anthem, and I'm betting on the Gatorade color.
The Gatorade color.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting all the how many times they showed Tom Brady or they mentioned Tom Brady. Like
all right,
all
it sounds like
stuff.
it sounds like what we need to do is we're gonna do a quick, maybe I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 minute little short segment. We're gonna jump on and we're gonna talk about nothing but sports, but the prop bets and all the different things from the Super Bowl that we're gonna bet on for this Sunday's game. We'll have it out before the game starts so that if anybody wants to jump on this stuff, you can. But I think that sounds like something that would be an absolute blast because I'd love the conversations about how long the national anthem will be, the Gatorade color, heads or tails, whether they'll take the south
and
end
I don't
zone,
have
north end
any
zone,
of
all
that
of those stuff.
for this one.